For centuries, alchemists promised and failed to turn lead into gold. What's most astounding about all of this is that even after each debunking, these charlatans would repackage their discredited schemes as something new with fresh jargon and different salesmen, luring wave after wave of hopeful dupes eager for golden miracles. For centuries. For centuries, alchemists promised and failed to turn lead into gold. What's most astounding about all of this is that even after each debunking, these charlatans would repackage their discredited schemes as something new with fresh jargon and different salesmen, luring wave after wave of hopeful dupes eager for golden miracles. For centuries, alchemists promised and failed to turn lead into gold. What's most astounding about all of this is that even after each debunking, these charlatans would repackage their discredited schemes as something new with fresh jargon and different salesmen, luring wave after wave of hopeful dupes eager for golden miracles. It needs to get out of the way. Get out of the way by granting the fastest building permits in the world. Get out of the way and end capital gains tax on reinvestments. Get out of the way and repeal anti-resource laws and bans on shipping oil off BC's north coast. End the oil and gas production cap. Get out of the way. Let builders build, workers work, and business boom. With get out of the way, let builders build, get out of the way, let builders build, workers work, and business boom.
And here we can see Pierre Poilievre very clearly making the exact same communist fist signal as communist despot Vladimir Lenin, also a Freemason. Very clear there. Now again, they're going to, they would just dismiss that and say that, oh, it's nothing. It's just, a symbol for victory or something like that. But it's pretty obvious. They have all of these actors, these Freemason puppet politicians, including Donald Trump, making that exact same communist fist hand signal. And who else do we see making that same hand signal? Well, these fake activist groups / anarchist groups who are funded by the government, well, maybe people above the government, to go out and stage all these fake altercations to help to push the Masonic order out of chaos agenda. So that organization known as Antifa, which is essentially just a bunch of state-funded actors, and they don't really believe, for the most part, in the causes that they say, they're claiming to believe in front of the cameras. Most of all of that stuff is just staged, and they have these staged pre-planned confrontations with these other supposed right-wing groups. But behind the scenes, they're all friends. It's all orchestrated deceit, and the right-wing people are really on the same side as those supposed anarchists and Antifa people behind the scenes. It's all just orchestrated chaos to push forth the Masonic order out of chaos agenda. So they have to manufacture all this fake chaos so that the public will ask the state to bring in order. And so that's what it's all about. But you can see that's clearly the same communist fist hand signal, while he goes on and puts on this act pretending to be for traditional values. All of these politicians are simply puppets. They're Freemasons. They're not really opposing each other. This is just an act that they put on in Parliament, and they take instructions from the intelligence services, who in turn take instructions from the Crown. So that's how the hierarchical organized crime syndicate works, and these people just repeat their lies and pretend to be opposed to each other so they can put on this facade to present the illusion of democracy. And just to illustrate that point, you can see these are those same actors who I was referring to there. These paid actors who come out and do essentially live-action role-play, or street theater, you might refer to it as, on a large scale. And obviously the media takes part in this deception too. So they're a part of presenting these fake staged clashes at these pre-planned protests, which aren't democratic protests. Rather, what they're doing is using the Delphi method, where they force a predetermined outcome because they control both sides at these fake protests, using actors on both sides, essentially community-based agents, and these would be the same people who they use to go out and stalk people on behalf of the state. They'll basically do anything the state tells them to do, but they don't really believe in these causes. Most of that is just a facade, and all they want is the money that they're going to get for participating in these things, because all they care about is materialism, and also they want to do whatever they can to go along with whatever the state tells them to do. Now, if you look into it, you will also find out that a lot of these, what they would refer to as these, I guess, football firms or soccer. I guess here we call it soccer, but most other places in the world they call it football. Where they have what they would refer to as like these hooligans, where the firms fight against each other. If you look into that, those firms themselves, a lot of them are holding up that same skull and bones flag, which is associated with military intelligence, the intelligence services, and of course connected to Freemasonry. So again, orchestrated chaos. It's beneficial if they have all these orchestrated fights and these fake altercations, because then that just provides justification for them to bring in more armed police and bring in the police to maintain order. So they use their own people for these deceitful agendas to deceive the public into thinking that we need more and more of a police state and we need more surveillance, because these hooligans who they pay themselves to go out and manufacture these altercations are doing these things, right? So it's all deceit, and it's coming down through Freemasonry, which is essentially used as a conduit of these elite families to get these people to do whatever they want them to do. And of course, they benefit through materialism, these people. They're going to get rewarded financially for doing these things that the state tells them to do. So moving along here, and we'll just take a look, just in case you thought that communist fist hand signal is a coincidence there, let's take a look at a few more. Okay, so right there you got Bernie Sanders with the communist fist, and it says communist fist right above it. And on a lot of these shirts that they wear with these Antifa people, you'll have like the Che Guevara logo with the communist fist symbol, right? So make no mistake, that's what it is. And Poilievre's putting that up, and just to tell you that what he really represents, again, they'll speak through signs and symbols, these Freemasons, to each other, and then they'll lie to you with their words. So with their words they deceive, and they communicate with each other, showing that they're all on the same side through signs and symbols. As the famous Freemason Manly P. Hall wrote, when the world learns to understand the language of signs and symbols, a great veil will fall from the eyes of man. So again, you can see Bernie doing it there too. The political system is all an act. It's controlled through Freemasonry. Only Masons get into these prominent roles to speak in front of the controlled media. This way they can steer the narrative any direction they want, and they always have the outcome predetermined while presenting you with the illusion of democracy. And again here, obviously you can see Trump making the communist fist hand signal there, and that was the same communist fist hand signal he did after that staged movie set fake assassination attempt that they put on as a theatrical production there, what was it, last summer, I guess? Yeah. So that's the same symbol there. And just take a look at this here again. Same symbol that Pierre Poilievre is showing. So let's just take a look at this as well. Okay, so there you go again, and the communist symbol with the sickle and the hammer, and the communist fist hand signal that they have all their actors doing as well. So all showing that they're in unison while they lie to you with words and put on an act and deceive you for Lucifer's system of deceit run through Freemasonry. Behind the scenes, they're all on the same side, and they're all working to achieve this one world communist government. And that's why Trump throws up that hand signal, just to mock people, showing that he's on the same side as Bernie Sanders. They're not really opposed. The red and the blue for Freemasonry, the two sides that they create to orchestrate the conflict, which brings about the synthesis of the purple. Red plus blue equals purple. Coke and Pepsi, the two opposing sides. And that goes back to, of course, their duality, which I really refer to as duplicity. But they refer to it as a duality. To me, it's just a justification for deceitfulness, deviousness, and duplicity. But in their minds, in their deranged minds, the people orchestrating these things, they have to justify it with their conscience, or well, I shouldn't say, most of them have kind of blocked out their conscience and gone through a process. And some of them have been raised that way through this system of the communitarian system since childhood. But at any rate, they have to do that to try to justify these acts that they're partaking in, and justify lying constantly about literally everything, and putting on an act to purposefully deceive people when they're in front of the cameras. And then there you go again, the North Korea communist fist salute. Again, puppet governments, all of them doing exactly what they're told, and the puppet politicians, Freemason puppet politicians, all showing the same hand signal, just to mock those who think that some of them are legitimate and some of them are actually working for traditional values. It's all lies, and they're all working to achieve the same ends, but they have to put on a show to make people think that there's some form of democracy, to deceive them. There is no democratic process, and all you have to do is just look at what they did a few years back with that quote-unquote pandemic to understand that all of these countries reacted exactly the same way, which would not happen if we had sovereign governments. So just a little bit more there, and you can see it's the exact same hand signal there. And just to reinforce this fake political system run through Freemasonry, of course, what do? Well, they have to use deceit on the internet to reinforce it. So they give all these Freemasons and the children of Freemasons and people from military families, they prop them up and give them big channels, big platforms with what appear to be big viewerships, but I think a lot of that's just manipulated. And then they have them go out there and talk over and over about this fake political system and about these stage debates and about trivial things that these puppet politicians say, just because they know they're going to get some people suckered in to believe it, because just by reinforcing the lie, by repeating the lie over and over again. So those are people involved in Freemasonry and people from military families who have trained their children to deceive in this way, and that's how the Canadian communitarian system works. So if you look on YouTube, you see all these people, with huge subscriberships talking about this fake political system as if it's real. It's very obvious that these people know that it's not, and that they're just trained to lie, to reinforce these lies. And of course, most of those people are openly connected with Freemasonry. You can see them exhibiting some of the signs and symbols that Masons are that are associated with Masonry as well. So they reinforce the narrative by putting out all these people who are essentially paid liars, and then they repeat the lie over and over again. And anyone who really speaks the truth and calls this fraudulent system out for what it is, unless, of course, they're controlled by the system, gets pretty much shadow banned. Now, they do have some people who they also control through the system, who they will put out to speak some truth about that, just to make it seem natural, to make it seem like you have freedom of speech and there's democracy. But in reality, it's all just a facade, and it is a deceitful system. It's Lucifer's system of deceit, and that's why people like Poilievre, they just love to mock you. They get a great deal of satisfaction from ridiculing the people who believe that their words, their lies, because they're, some of them are very trained. They're trained orators. They're very good speakers. Some of them are very powerful speakers, like Jordan Peterson. Although what he says, the substance of what he says, is mostly drivel, he's very sophisticated with his presentation of it. And so, of course, these politicians are trained public speakers as well. But it's all just lies, and they know it's lies, and they're just trained to lie, and that's the communitarian system. It's a hierarchical system of lies where people train their children to lie to reinforce the lies of the state. So it's all done through wide-scale mass deception.